All right, once again, I've got Jimmy on the podcast, but today we're not talking about elk hunting. We're not talking about mule deer hunting. We're not talking about Colorado or the western states in general. We're talking about Africa. All the years that Jimmy worked for me, he took an annual trip out to Africa, was there for 3, 4, 5 weeks every season. So nowadays, the guy has it down, and he has a perspective that is an American perspective on hunting specifically in South Africa. And I think that's important. I'm going to have some other folks on the podcast in the future that are operators there in Africa. And I think they're going to have some insight that's different than Jimmy's and in some ways a little better informed from certain angles. But I feel like Jimmy's experience there as an American going there and then spending a pretty significant amount of time there is in its own right a very unique perspective on things. There's certain things that you're only going to be able to maneuver if you see it from that perspective. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Jimmy, good to have you back.
Yeah.
Well, not really, because we just did a podcast. So
Yeah, back from
this
the
is
bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a follow-on to the podcast that we did that I published probably a couple weeks ago to everybody listening that we did on the Colorado Draw. I teased in there that we were going to talk about Africa, but we just got long-winded and focused on Colorado. A bunch of good stuff in that podcast. But today we're going to focus on stuff that you don't have to draw for. You don't have to worry about planning and all of that. You can just go pay to go have some fun in Africa and hunt a bunch of different species. And I have a bunch of questions personally, Jimmy, and I know that you've spent quite a bit of time there over the year. What we talked about? Like you've been there for
Yeah, it's
20,
like
like
20,
20
20
total
some
weeks?
weeks. Yeah. Yeah, and head back
Yes.
over there this May.
Yeah, so you got a good feel for it. I know you got a bunch of buddies that work in the business over there, so I figured you're the guy to talk to. And I think I had contemplated getting like an African PH on, Jimmy. And I'll do that in the future. I'll probably pick your brain on recommendations. But I thought it would actually be more useful to talk to somebody that has like the American hunter perspective, just because I think you might be able to explain some things that are a little more relatable. Also, just because you're experienced in the elk hunting world and all of that, like most of my listeners, that's the type of hunting they're used to. So we can talk about, the differences, like the
Hmm.
relative differences. I think would be pretty interesting. So yeah, man. We can just dive into it. The first thing, well, here's the deal, because I didn't ask you in the first
Yeah.
podcast, but I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask it to you about Africa, if you've got one. Do you have a bucket list Africa hunt?
Yeah, and I mean it's yeah, it would be my bucket list general hunt as well.
Oh,
Like
perfect,
as much as
perfect.
as much as I would love to go to Alaska and do like some crazy like mountain caribou, Dall sheep, grizzly, moose
Sure.
combo and spend a month up there. Um, like as fun as that is, I really want to go and do a an elephant hunt in like remote Africa. Um,
Yeah.
and I've personally haven't been on any elephant hunts yet, but I've known plenty of guys that have, and one of them, he he's guided in Alaska and Montana, and he's hunted a lot all over North America, um, and guided a lot as well. And he's like, the only time I felt like I might not be able to shoot my way out of a situation, like he's like had grizzlies charge him and all that kind of crazy stuff.
Sure.
He's like, and he's hunted Cape Buffalo, and he's like, I wasn't really sure if I'd be able to shoot my way out of an elephant hunt.
Yeah.
Like if things start going south, like would I be able to get like just be able to kill it right then and drop it. And you
Yeah.
hope that you can, but there's just, I mean they're so freaking big, and that 500 grain bullet is not big compared to how big they are.
No, you're
So,
talking about a game animal
yeah,
that's exponentially bigger. So everything's
yeah,
small.
and bigger
Yeah.
than anything you've ever freaking seen in your life. Like
Yeah.
a Cape Buffalo is the size of a black Angus bull. It's like
Yeah.
fuck, it's big, but that thing is,
Yeah.
like you're shooting at close ranges. Again, granted, I haven't been on one, but like you're not shooting like this. You're like that,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
You're looking
Like
up.
they're at the same elevation as you, but it's still an angled shot.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now, the other element, dude, is you're talking about an animal that's intelligent enough to really rapidly figure out exactly what's going on and
yeah,
like what the threat is and all that
yeah,
like wild stuff. So, dude, it's I was when you first said that, dude, I was trying to keep my mouth shut and let you describe it because, dude, it's crazy. Like you probably think that's a unique one, but out of the last 5 podcasts, it's been 3 people's bucket
oh yeah,
list.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's mine too. We've talked
yeah,
about it
yeah,
before, and for the same reason, dude. Like guys that I've guided over the years that I really respected and I thought hunted for the right reasons and really enjoyed the adventure. Almost unanimously, they say a elephant hunt.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And they don't. I mean, they're expensive hunts. I know there's all sorts of variations,
You-
but
yeah,
you
and
know,
I'm going to stop you. It's if you just want to go and do the adventure, you don't care about like bringing ivories back with you, like the physical ivories, and you can get some replicas made. Dude, it's way cheaper than the cheapest doll sheep hunt you'll ever find. You know?
and like, yeah, dude. I mean, that. Let's just dive into that,
Okay.
Jimmy. Like
Yeah.
so my perspective on it is like I don't give a shit about the ivories. Like I don't. For me personally, whatever elephant needed to be hunted. Like I don't. One of my thoughts is I'd love to be on a hunt that was focused on. You're gonna see how naive I am on this, but I'd love to do an elephant hunt that was focused on like a specific management goal, just because I think the hunt would be more fun. You know what I mean? Rather than I don't even know how they're typically operated. I have a little general feel from talking to people, but you're just going out, finding a group of elephants and popping one. That's to me, that's not as much fun as like, hey, we're trying to find this individual elephant. So
Yeah.
within the bounds of that, and there's a reason for killing that elephant, and that if it does have tusks, they're going to be utilized or whatever. Outside of that, I wouldn't care at all what I took home. So if that's my perspective, like what's the most economical way to do it, and what does that hunt look like?
Yeah, I mean, like you can go to um and they're not all necessarily cliffs like where you're targeting like that specific, you know, that specific bull elephant that is, you know, just destroyed someone's field, right?
Yeah, no, I don't mean
Or
that. I don't mean
whatever.
that, but like, but you're looking for like you might be looking for a certain kind or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, and like, you're looking for that, that kind of like a coal bull, right? That might be like,
Yeah,
and the way like, it might be like a 25 or to 35 pound, right? Being the ivory bull that they want to just cull out for population management,
okay.
you know,
And
and
that's the trophy dynamic, or the way they
yeah,
judge them is weight. And is
yeah,
that the weight? That's the weight of one tusk.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Like I mean, like the gold standard, right? Would be 100 pound.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a big one.
yeah, that's fucking huge.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
know if there's really like there's probably like in huntable areas. I don't know if there's and I could be totally. You might
I
have like
got
an
you.
African PH come on it and be like, oh yeah, dude, I see one of those every year, but I don't actually think that they're very common. And like if they
I
are,
got you.
like it's like there's one in in the parks and shit like that. But
Yeah, I got you.
um, so yeah, like on the price standpoint, you know, um, uh, I was just at yeah I told you I was at the Harrisburg Sportsman Show, and there's a bunch of African outfitters there, and 15 to 20 grand, you're going over and hunting these the exact that 25 35 pound bull, um, that's non-exportable, meaning you're not taking any of it home with you,
Yeah.
to the
And
United States, to the United States. Now, like if you've got, like I was talking to one of the guys that like, could I, if I go over and shoot one, can I export it from like Tanzania, Botswana, like whatever, depending on the country, to a buddy's house in South Africa? The answer is yes. So
Yeah.
if you happen to be, maybe you've got a friend that lives in Mexico or, fuck, I don't know, but that you could go and, or England, yeah, I doubt England.
Yeah, whatever.
But
Yeah,
whatever,
you
you
could. Yeah.
might be able to go and get it exported to one of those countries, just not the United States.
Yeah. And
And
this
then,
is this
go
is
ahead.
this is hunting them in South Africa.
No, no,
What
this is,
country are we talking about?
yeah, Botswana, um, Tanzania,
Okay.
primarily. Yeah, you can go hunt them in South Africa. Um, there's just not as many, and a lot of them are going to be bulls that have escaped because Kruger, their park Kruger is fenced, but it's like a real half-assed fence that
They can get
stuff.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they get out, and then so you're shooting those animals, and then and I'm sure we'll get into it more. The vast majority of South Africa is privately owned, and those landowners do not and have not wanted elephants on their property because they're
Yeah.
so destructive.
The
So a
economics just
lot,
suck.
yeah. So
Yeah.
a lot of South Africa is void of elephants. I mean, they're still there, and probably like every time I go over, probably if we want to go see some, we can try to go see some, But yeah, for the most part, you're going to be looking at Botswana, Tanzania, maybe Namibia, and again,
Are
you could go
are
do it in
sure.
South Africa, but
Are all those hunts stylistically the same, Jimmy? Like how are they operated?
well, like so South Africa is like
No,
your
I
like
mean,
go ahead.
specific. I don't want to get off the elephant subject, dude.
Yeah, okay, okay.
We're gonna do a whole podcast on elephants if we have to, because
Okay.
this
Well,
is
I'm not.
where
I'm not. I'm not the expert on it, but
That's okay. It's okay. You know way more than me. Do you know the style of the elephant hunts that we're talking about? Like, how do they do it?
yeah, it's yeah,
what's the duration? How do they
yeah.
hunt them?
The majority of them are going to be 10 day. Well, and I take that back. Some of them are 22 days,
Okay.
and again, it depends on you know if you're after like some of those tuskless elephant hunts. You're talking about a very small percentage of the cows are tuskless. So you've got to see 100 cows before you see a tuskless cow,
I got you.
mature tuskless, and then
Yeah.
that one that doesn't have a baby on it,
Yeah. Yeah.
a
Sure.
dry
Like
tuskless.
it's a
So,
select. Yeah. It's a select. It's a
so that,
real super
it's
selective.
actually like, that's actually, believe it or not, like one of the harder hunts from my understanding, is the
Oh, okay.
tuskless. And they also are, again, from my understanding, meaner because
Oh, because they
they've had
probably.
to, they don't have
Yeah.
what,
Yeah. Sure.
and so that, and well, actually so like when they're scraping like bark and stuff off of trees to eat, they don't have a way to do that. So like the way that they eat is like by running off other elephants and eating what they
Oh,
just
okay.
scraped off.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So they're living a hard life. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. And what's the two questions, then we can leave the elephant subject. I'm just intrigued by it. The utilization of the ivories that are left there, like for these non-exportable hunts. Do you know anything about that? Do they just keep them there, or do they go into a market?
I don't know, Cliff. Like, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I want to say they get destroyed. Um,
Huh.
that the government
Yeah, because there's no, because there's no
destroys them,
import.
but
Yeah.
uh, that also seems like
It's like a giant
there's,
waste.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could stop a little bit of the poaching problem if you just give them to China
Yeah.
or whoever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, well, this one was killed legally and we made money off of it, so let's give it to you guys so you stop sending over your cronies or whatever, paying locals to go shoot them.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, there's dude. Years ago, there was that rhino documentary. Have you seen that one? The guy that was raising the rhinos. Um, it gets into the into the weeds on if there should be just a commercial rhino horn market, and maybe that might solve this. Just pretty interesting stuff, man.
yeah, yeah,
You
I
know.
probably would. I wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah, I don't see why. Yeah, it's like it's a good documentary. I can't remember what it's called, but it goes over some pros and cons, which all
I
seems
think I've
reasonable.
seen it a long time ago. Yeah,
Yeah, it's old. It's got to be 10 years old now or
yeah.
something. But yeah, man, no, that's interesting. I guess the other question I got asked, 'cause have you ever eaten it? You ever eat an elephant when you were down
Mm-mm.
there?
No,
No. Yeah. I'm just
I'd
curious
love
because it
to.
seems like
I'd
such.
love to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, just a different. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably like other things. Like it may not be that comparable to a lot of stuff that we normally eat.
yeah, yeah. But and
So
yeah, I would be interested. I would like to try it. It might be good. It probably doesn't taste like, and I don't even know what I have in my head like it would taste like. But like when I ate hippo, it didn't taste like what I thought hippo would taste like.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I hear you. And it's like everything I see, and I always, even from a hunter's perspective, I'm always very curious about how things are tilted for the sake of media. But all the elephant like hunting content that you do see that like the villagers that are with them or the guides and the trackers and all that. They seem pretty adamant that they want the elephant meat like right now. You know what I mean? I mean, it appear, and I just don't know if there's a tilt to that or what, but it seems like it's not something that's considered like subpar.
Yeah, well, I think Cliff, like just in general, and even in South Africa, where it's much more um, modern, and there's not necessarily like villagers, right? Um,
Yeah,
but the locals, they are still protein deprived,
yeah, yeah,
and are very very happy to take back, um, like a tongue or stuff that like a lot of your meat, the majority of your meat in South Africa does not actually go to like villagers, like you hope, right?
right.
It's actually it's going to
It
a
goes
meat.
into it goes into a mark. It goes
It
into a
go yeah
market.
yeah. It goes to the
Yeah,
meat
yeah, yeah,
processor and goes to the meat market, and you go to um, it's then being sold in town at like a butcher shop, or it's being trucked down to you know um, Johannesburg or Cape Town or whatever and being sold.
All right, guys, my Spring Bear online course is up on the website at pursuitwithcliff.com/Spring Bear. I've taken all of my knowledge, everything I've learned on over 50 successful spring bear hunts across the states and across Canada. All of that I've shoved into this course. Right now, there's already 6 or 7 hours up, and I'm going to continually improve this course. Once you sign up, you'll have access forever. All of the information and the full course will be complete by the first week of April. There's a ton of knowledge, a ton of tactics, a ton of gear talk that's going to help anybody who's preparing for a spring hunt. Go check it out. There's like an established market for
Yeah,
game meat in
yeah,
Africa. Yeah,
yeah,
it's really interesting that because it's a totally different rule book, right? Like
yeah. You go to
there's an
prison
open.
here if you do that
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah,
wild game,
yeah.
but
Which again probably has its pros and cons and everything
yeah,
else. But it is kind of interesting because I had this discussion with a guy that's in the biltong business, like the
uh-huh.
dried
Hmm.
meat business, and he mentioned it to me, and I never had thought of this, but a lot of Americans, even ones that think they have eaten game meat, a lot of like the majority of Americans have never actually eaten game meat. Like if you go to a
Yeah,
restaurant
yeah.
and go ahead.
When you go to that restaurant and you get elk, right? It says venison.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be
It's
elk,
farmed red
but it's
stag
farm
or
raised.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. 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 It's not. And so there's like this misperception that, oh, I've had elk or yeah, I've had wild boar on some restaurant menu.
yeah,
And you haven't. You haven't. So, dude, like, there's no denying that if you haven't eaten, if you're like you're an American and you've eaten a lot of red meat, but you've never eaten game meat, like you're in for a surprise of what game meat is. I'm not saying you're gonna dislike it or like it or what, but it's different, 100%.
Yeah,
But when he was talking about Africa, he's like, dude, a lot of people there, or the majority of people in certain areas, even if they're non-hunters, they've eaten game meat
yeah,
because it's real market for it. It's
yeah,
kind of interesting,
yeah. And I mean, I don't know the price difference, Cliff, like the game meat versus you know beef
Yeah,
in
sure.
Africa, but there's for sure like your giraffe meat or your zebra, um, well,
Well, yeah, yeah, dude.
so like your
What's
worst,
the higher? Yeah,
which is
what's
like
the
a
hierarchy?
yeah. So like your warthog, a lot of that gets turned into, they call it Wurst, which is like sausage.
Okay.
Um, that I see a lot of that, and then your giraffe and your zebra, that goes into biltong.
Okay.
Like taking back straps and cutting biltong out of it, right? Like that you
Yeah.
normally
Okay.
wouldn't do that with your jerky front, right?
Sure.
Jerky biltong, basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously the process is different, but yeah, you're not taking your prime cuts and turning it into snack sticks.
Yeah.
Uh,
What you're getting at
but
is like if you're processing the tenderloins and the backstrap, like the meat's not that tasty.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're seasoning the crap out of it, it's not that good. But yeah, and then basically the way that I see it classified a lot is horned and non-horned. So your non-horned animals typically do not taste as like that is lower quality.
Okay. So that would be like
Warthog, yeah, warthog,
warthog,
hippo. Uh,
hippo.
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I know giraffe kind of like there's technically like a little horn there, but yeah,
It's
they
kind of
do get,
classified in
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. And so when you get into your antelope, those species,
uh,
that's considered that's like primo game meat.
yeah. But then like I think everybody would probably say like, oh, a gemsbuck's better than a you know I don't know, blessed buck or whatever.
Yeah, like
But
within the
like, but
category. Yeah.
I think I like eland is, I think the majority of people would say that's going to be like one of their favorites. Like I'd say the
Okay.
majority of people would say like eland is one of your better. I do think that moose is better than elk. I think
Yeah, I
I
got
think
you.
that I
Yeah,
think
like
that
you have a preference.
yeah, I think eland is better than wildebeest.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. But there's kind of like these categories in Africa are I see what you're saying. I mean, we have the same
Yeah,
like they're similar in the US, right? So
yeah,
you got the warthogs on the bottom and then you got giraffes and then you got the
zebra.
zebra and then you get into the antelopes and then everybody kind of breaks it
Mhm.
out into that. No,
Yeah,
I got you. That's it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting how everywhere's different, and it's so funny on game meat too, man, because it you get a lot of anecdotal evidence, right? Like I'm sure, I
yeah,
mean, somebody can come and they hit it right, and somebody feeds them a mule deer steak, and it's just the best thing they've ever had,
yeah,
and they'll hold that in their mind, and they'll tell everybody for a very long time, and then like they'll say it to me and I'll be like, I mean, I'll eat it, but that's about it. It's not my
yeah,
favorite. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so it's interesting how that is. Like everywhere is different. But like there, it's kind of a different deal because everybody's eating it and there's a market for it. So it's probably pretty evident what's top tier shit and what's not. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So,
yeah.
but interesting stuff. So, dude, let's go into the South Africa, like the actual hunting component of it, man. One question that I have, but a lot of people a lot of people ask me about is the actual economics of a trip, Jimmy. So if I'm like your average American hunter, like I'm willing to, yeah, I'm and maybe every couple of years I'm spending $10,000 on an elk hunt, or I'm going on a couple guided hunts. Like I'm not a bazillionaire, but I've got some money to spend on hunting, but I'm
Uh-huh.
still budget conscious. Like what should my approach be to Africa? And like what's kind of the inside scoop on not on really just like my expectations on how much money I'm going to spend, but like how do I structure it so I have that figured out?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, and I'm probably going to get off track, Cliff. So
That's all good.
bring me back. But Africa, and then more specifically South Africa, is super saturated with outfitters. So it's a very
Yeah, and
competitive.
give everybody the because we're the high fence thing is gonna come up.
Yeah,
So let's just talk about that.
yeah. So I mean, a lot of South Africa is going to be high fence hunting. You also see in parts of South Africa and the different properties, there's a lot of game farming, right? Where they're breeding um, impala in, when I say pens, like they're like huge, like 500-acre pens.
Yeah,
Um, and then they're, so this, like, they still run from humans, but
yeah,
then
sure.
then these places are restocking their ranches because they can't keep up with the amount of hunters that they run through. So
Yeah,
one, you should know that. Two is the outfitter you're going with. If you're against it, do they do it? And I think you're going to get some very facetious answers no matter what. If you're against high fence hunting, that's fine. There's places in South Africa that are not high fence, and there's some big ones. But I think you also got to define, like, in your mind, like, if you're okay with high fences, like, at what point are you no longer okay with it, right?
hmm
Because I'm sure everybody at some point has has their level. Like, I've been, and it's neither right nor wrong. Everyone, you're gonna have to define that yourself. But like, when I've been to some places where we shot some stuff in like 50-acre pens, and it was like, I personally don't feel right about
that
that.
wasn't your thing.
That wasn't
Yeah,
my
yeah.
thing. Um, I don't want to go and do that. Do you go and hunt 2,000 acres, which is big, like 2,000 acres? Like, a lot of people like blow like, like 10,000 acres, Cliff. That's that's the stuff that, like, that was like the core stuff that we elk hunted on, like, while you owned Flat Tops Wilderness Club.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
It's
I
very
mean,
big, like,
well, dude,
that's the core.
in like topography and
Yeah,
vegetation, all of that's like it's super highly relevant, and we could have a whole podcast on it, Jimmy,
yeah,
about like what where is the spectrum on high fence hunting, and like you say, I think everybody has their, I think. I think everybody has their bounds on the low. Like everybody knows it when they see it. Like, hey, this isn't hunting anymore. This is
yeah.
just going out and shooting a dairy cow. And personally, dude, I mean, I've always been around a livestock family and everything else. My perspective, if it's being utilized and you're not being a bastard about it, I personally, I don't cast
Yeah,
judgment on people.
no, and then exactly.
But
Yeah, I don't care. Like, when we shot, the reason the guy wanted to shoot a giant springbuck,
that was
and
his deal. Yeah, yeah,
that was his deal, and the biggest springbuck around was one that was, it was a breeder ram. I think
yeah.
that's what you would call. Because it's funny, like, there's
The
they
terms for each,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They're convoluted. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's like, like, they switch from like a bull to a ram at Inyala to kudu. So like a kudu
Oh,
bull
okay.
and then Inyala ram. But anyway, um, whatever the male springbuck was, it's like, that's what he wanted to shoot that, and it was like, it was in a pen as a breeder animal because it has good genetics, and that's what the guy wants to shoot. And then, like, I was tagging along helping, and it's like, okay, that I knew right then and there, like, that is not like For me personally,
Yeah, it's not for
I
you.
don't want to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that. I don't want to do that. But
Yeah, and you can get in this long debate about, like, there's a legitimate debate about, that person or somebody else or whoever going out and calling it a hunt or whatever. Like, we can have this, it's
yeah,
like we could have endless conversations about it. But I think in the end, like, your point is that, like, everybody's got a different perspective on it, but you need to go with that perspective. I personally think that people dwell on the small fence stuff, and it's like it's all they want to talk about, and they want to talk about how it's like unacceptable and everything else. And sure, there's all these logical arguments, but I think the other side of it, Jimmy, is there also is a point where a high fence is really has nothing to do with improving your ability to hunt the animals, and has everything to do with the management of the
yeah,
animals.
yeah.
And I
I
think
agree.
that if you're somebody that's completely, and I'll get shit flung at me on this because I know a lot of people like this that will not hunt in a high fence no matter what. I think that you're almost as naive as the other end, because, dude, I've culled elk in high fences. I've culled cow elk in high fences, big high fences in a lot of topography, and a lot of times they're way harder to kill than wild elk. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because for
yeah,
all sorts of different population dynamics. So I think that you have to keep that in perspective too. Everybody should probably have a certain size of a high fence where they should equate it to basically hunting free range animals. And that's an
yeah,
unpopular like thing to
yeah,
say,
yeah.
but
But
at some
it's true.
level.
It's true. And like anyone who says like that, that's not like that disagree with that. I kind of disagree with them because like you you ha- you haven't hunted a big enough place then.
That's what it is
That
like they're naive. They've never
yeah,
been in that situation and been like, "Oh, dude, well this is the same thing."
yeah,
I mean, dude, what's the difference, Jimmy? Like, if you're baiting whitetail in Texas on a free range ranch, what the hell is the difference between that and hunting on a 20,000 acre high fence in South Africa? I mean, it doesn't have to be in Africa; it could be anywhere.
yeah,
What's the difference?
yeah. Well,
I mean,
I mean, just call it apples to apples, right? You're on a 20,000 acre high fence place in Texas for whitetail and a 20,000 acre low fence place. It if you're in the
yeah,
middle of the yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
yeah.
But back to
So
Africa.
back to Africa,
It
I think you need to have this before you go. This okay. What are you okay with, and what are you not okay with? And then there's going to be times that like, and I see this a lot. And I'm not going to name drop anyone because the place that I go with a lot. Um, I've seen it happen to clients there that like they book at one of these shows, they get sold something, and and they have a fantastic time. But I'm like, man, I kind of feel bad for you guys. Like you're not getting to experience everything.
I
Um,
got you.
so like they go and they hunt the same, you know, the same 5,000 acres that the lodge sits on, but the outfitting business has another million acres of leases just within an hour's drive of it,
Yeah.
and you're not going to those other leases, and it's because you see it because those guys that sold them that it's cheaper for them to sell you the animals that are on their owned ranch, their own property, versus going and now that now they're if you shoot a kudu on the place that they're leasing, you pay that landowner $500 for a
Yeah.
kudu, where whether they brought in an animal or it was naturally raised there, they don't have that $500 investment. So they're like just like trying to pump everyone into those spots. So
Yeah.
I think going with And I like, and I kind of have like a little side hustle where I take
That you
people
help people
over.
book, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Um,
I think in this context is like valuable, Jimmy, because it's like a lot of this stuff is a little bit hard to maneuver. For like I'm thinking about from my perspective. Like let me ask you this question because I think it might frame the discussion a little bit easier. If I said, okay, I hear what you're saying on the fence. I hear what you're saying on trying to hunt some different locations just for the variety. And also, my understanding is that and tell me if I'm wrong, Jimmy, but there's quite a bit of difference in like topography and places
mhm.
just
Yeah.
within South. So if I said, "Hey, dude, I would like, I wanna control my hunt a little bit, where like I want to hunt a certain type of place in terms of how free ranging they are or whatever, and then also I want some variety. What like how does somebody approach that with the guys that they've booked with? Do you literally say like, hey, I don't want to hunt anything that's less than 2,000 acres, or I don't want to hunt anything that's less than 2,000 acres, and I want to hunt 4 or 5 different regions just so I get a feel for the place. Like, is that an appropriate thing to say, or like
Yeah. I mean,
how do
I
you
think
actually do
I,
that?
I, I think you can I think you can say that whether or not get 100% honest answer out of that person you're booking with, like there's not an on X that I can click, I mean, that I know
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
that I can be like, whoa, dude, you told me I'm hunting 5,000 acres. We're hunting 1,100. Like,
yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know how big those properties are, but like this one feels right. This one doesn't feel right.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but so, and then you hear, like you ask, oh, how big is this place? Oh, it's 3,500 hectares or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then your different regions, yeah, like you're gonna have to go with an outfit if you want to hunt the Karoo, right? Which is like more um kind of more south in South Africa, kind of more central. Than like the majority of your hunting in South Africa is going to happen in northern South Africa in the Limpopo province, right?
Okay.
Um, that's the majority of it, and that's what a lot of people probably think of and see on TV. Then, if you want to go down south into the Karoo, that outfit that you're going with, they better either have a lodge or a connection down there that you can go down to the Karoo and hunt springbuck down there and red hartebeest or whatever the case is. And then, if you want to go um, east into like a little more tropical area, um, that would be over towards Kruger. And I forget what the name of that province is in there, but you got to have an outfit that has that connection, or they have a lodge or whatever the case is over there that they can go and take you. Yeah, a lot of those outfits, they've got their lodge. They have one lodge, and the property that lodge is on, and then they have a couple of leases within an hour's drive. And most and,
Right.
and most like if you're having to travel over an hour in the mornings from the lodge or hunt to go to another property, like it is, they're long days. They're not like elk hunting long days, but
Yeah,
they're long
sure.
days. You know.
Yeah, because now you got it. You layering on your logistics.
Hmm.
So, so I mean, I guess in that case, Jimmy, can you like if you were going out there for 20 days, can you book safaris with like two different guys, like
Yeah,
two
you
different
could.
outfits? I mean,
Yeah,
do people do that, or is it better
yeah.
just to go
No,
with one
yeah. I mean,
one gu- one guy and
I would want to go with like and the company that I do a lot of stuff with. They've like anywhere if you wanted to hunt the East Cape, if you want to hunt Limpopo, if you want to hunt the Karoo, if you want to hunt over by Kruger, they have all of those connections there.
yeah,
It's
I got you.
huge. It's a huge operation. They might not own it, but they're gonna you'll be able to go hunt there, and then you can go back and if you wanted to go, you go to Limpopo. Like Limpopo's the great, and that's where everyone goes, and it's like that's your first spot. And South Africa is a great, and I know I'm still bouncing around, but South Africa is a great. That's your first place that you probably should go and get
Yeah.
your feet wet, and then you might, and then more specifically Limpopo. But then you're going to go, and then you'll start bouncing around, and like you want to hunt the Karoo for springbuck, go down to the Karoo and hunt springbuck. That's your
Yeah.
focus. Um, a lot of your
It,
springbuck in Limpopo, they actually don't. They're brought in because they don't
yeah.
do
So
well
so
in
there's
Limpopo.
a lot of hunting of species that are actually non like probably non-native is not the right term, but they're
Yeah,
not like you're killing them in topography and vegetation they don't actually live in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you could for sure have the mindset of like, hey, I want to go to South Africa. I want to hunt places that feel like I'm going on a real hunt. We're out there. There's some ground, and I want to kill animals that are like that's where they live. That's kind of my
yeah,
feeling personally,
yeah,
Jimmy. Like I
yeah.
don't I don't really care what other people do, but my feeling is like I kind of want to do that. So if I was like I'm going to go to Africa on my first trip, I've got 2 weeks to spend. Maybe I'm just going to spend it in Limpopo because that makes sense. It's like my
Uh-huh.
first place. Um, like what would you I mean, what would you recommend a guy like goes after just there if that's his goals?
Well, yeah, I would look at whoever you're going with, look at their species list, and then look at the pricing. You know, I don't. I think it would be hard to not go to South Africa in Limpopo and not shoot an impala on your first time. I think it'd be hard not to shoot a warthog. I think it would be hard not to shoot a blue wildebeest. Your black wildebeest is going to be south. You're going to see them in Limpopo, but that's going to be more of your kind of more open country down in the like the Karoo region. And I'm sure somebody's
I
going to be
got
like,
you.
oh, there's not black wildebeest in the Karoo, but that, that, naturally there's not many in Limpopo either. So,
I got you. Yeah.
um, you know, uh, Gemsbuck, probably, a lot of people go to South Africa and shoot a Gemsbuck in Limpopo. Not really their area in there.
Right.
They do exist and they exist well, but that's like 200 years ago. There was not a Gemsbuck in
Yeah,
Limpopo,
it's like it's like
or
shooting
not.
it's like shooting an oryx in New Mexico.
Yeah, yeah,
Like yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
When I
yeah.
say
But
Gemsbuck,
it's
that's what
probably
the
still
orcs.
fun.
Yeah, the orcs that you see in New Mexico, or that I mean, that's a Gemsbuck.
Same animal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
uh, I would, if I was going to South. I'm not sure if I said I would shoot a kudu. That would for
Yeah, I know
sure
you haven't
that
mentioned that.
that would for sure be one. You know, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of
Yeah, but those are like
look up.
the like your first trip, and you want to shoot a
Yeah,
bunch of the antelope species. Like those are
yeah,
ones you for
yeah,
sure
and
want
and
to
then
want to
and
do.
then you can go down and start like really breaking it up into there. Like there's your common impala, then there's black impala, and then there's I think there's a saddleback impala, and there's just different color phases. Same thing with blessbuck. Like there's your common blessbuck, there's your white, there's a yellow, and these are just color variations. Same thing with springbuck.
Yeah,
You got black, common, copper, Kalahari, and white. And like that's what
yeah,
if your focus is to go and do a like your springbuck slam, yeah, go down to the Karoo and do your springbuck slam. That'd be a great spot
yeah, yeah.
for it.
So there's specific spots to do your thing. Dude,
Yeah.
here's a goofy question for you, Jimmy. Let's say that hypothetically, my mentality is that I don't really care about checking off species,
Uh-huh.
right? Which I'm guessing is for sure like part of the reason to go. And like if I went there, there'd for sure be like certain species I want to hunt. But let's say that's not the case, and this could be in the context of a rifle hunter or an archery hunter. I just want to go there to get like a bunch of reps in
Yeah.
economically.
Yeah.
One, is that like a culturally appropriate approach to take? And then if it is it like how do you do it in the most economical way?
Yeah, and so there are some, the outfit that I primarily am going with do not offer like a cull safari.
Right.
There are places out there that, yeah, you can go and they use you as a tool to go and manage some of their properties. Now, when 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 we have to, and I say we, like the outfit that I
Yeah, the
primarily
guys
go
you
with,
work with. Yeah, yeah.
when we go and like have to go cull stuff on a property, yeah, it's great if you can get some people over there to do it, but a lot of times it's a PH that has off, and then load up in the truck with them. They take a few skinners and trackers that have off, and we just go out and shoot stuff in the head and drop it right there for
Yeah, it's
the
like a
for the main
work or
purpose.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a work trip, and we're not out there um, tracking stuff. We're just going
Yeah,
in there
yeah.
like, hey, we need to call 6 zebra today. We're going in there and doing it. But there are you can find outfitters safaris over there that'll go and do a cold deal, and you'll go over and one day you'll shoot 20 impala, and another day you might go shoot 10 blessed buck that need to get
Yeah, yeah.
cold on. You're not going to go over there on a Cape Buffalo coal hunt, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, not and that's good to know, dude. And it sounds like it's not like a, it's for sure not a mainstream part of thing. It's just something that pops in my head, and
yeah,
I always think about it too, Jimmy, because I mean, me and you have discussed it a lot. As an American, it's hard, like particularly if you're not a Texan, it's hard to get big game hunting reps.
yeah. Do
You
you
know what
get
I
like
mean?
if you're lucky, and you're the average. I shouldn't even say average, but you're the above lucky guy in the United States. You get to go shoot your whitetail buck in your home state. You shoot a whitetail doe or two in your home state, and you go and you shoot an elk and a mule deer. So you're looking at what, five animals, and that's the above lucky guy, right? That gets to go and do
Right.
that every year.
All right, guys, so I wanted to mention that I'm having these custom skinning knives made. These are called Cliff Skinner. I've got a whole bunch of reasons why I've had this knife made the way that it's made. Got a short video on the website. The details are there. Pursuitwithcliff.com. Click in the corner up by shop. You'll see Cliff Skinner. Click that puppy. You'll get all the details.
And that's spread out through big course of time. You go over to Africa. If you're going over to Africa, you should make it worth your while and make sure you shoot 5+ animals.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, go, yeah, get some reps in and get a hunt with with, in a totally different area. Dude, I'll be transparent. Like, one of my worries about going, and I know I'm not alone in this because people have brought it up to me, and it's not really a worry about Africa. It's the same worry that people share when they go on a guided hunt. Is you get guys, and I feel like this group of folks is growing, Jimmy. Like you get people that they want to know the why of the hunting, and they want to like learn from the guys that are guiding them. And I think that when I go to Africa, whatever PH I hunt with, he's gonna find me super annoying. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well,
Not because I like would question what he's doing, not at all. It's just
mhm.
more like I'd want to learn from him. Like, do
Yeah.
you have thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so those, like, for us here in Colorado, right? We're guiding for a total of what, 10, 12 weeks most,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Those PHs, they're they're probably starting to hunt today, March 1st. There's a lot of operations kind of start March 1st, and
Okay.
they'll in South Africa, and they'll run through November.
Yeah.
So the majority of the year, they are dealing with clients, um, and you've dealt with lots of clients, and for the most part, you like a lot, but some of them, every client's going to get
Sure.
annoying to you. I do see that PH makes or breaks the hunt the majority of times. It's not the property you're hunting. It's not the food they fed you. It's not the lodge. It's the pH, and making sure that your personality meshes well with that pH. And like if you can go and again, like I took a guy over there the last time I went, and like I knew his personality, and it's like we cannot like I just named off like when we booked, I was like we're not hunting with these four pHs, not because they're not good, just the
Right.
personalities are like those guys are like I love those guys. As a matter of fact, I would like to hunt with them because we're going to be joking around and having fun the whole time.
Sure.
That's just not that guy's personality, and it's not going to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And it just so happened like that hunter and that PH were in camp for like a little bit over time, and he said to me, he's like, "I am so glad I'm not hunting with that guy."
They just like there's a little
Yeah, just no,
personality
and they
clash or
didn't
whatever.
they
Yeah.
didn't clash, but just like the way like that guy's really loud and outspoken. The hunter,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's not. You know,
Yep.
so if you can find like, and it's super hard when you go to a sportsman's show or you email, you find the outfit you want to go with, you ask those questions, and then you're going to go and they're going to assign you to a PH.
Yeah.
Um, and there, there's like a little bit of a cultural difference. There's, and they all speak English, but there's a language barrier, right? With the like, how well do they speak English?
Sure.
And that can be a factor for some people.
Right.
Like the old guy that's hard of hearing, and you have a South African that doesn't speak that great of English, and he's whispering to you, and that guy's like wearing
Yeah.
hearing aids, and he can't
What?
understand like what, like, yeah, that
Yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't go well together. And you got to like
Yeah.
if you can have if you have a buddy that went to South Africa or went on an African safari, and they hunted with Yaku, you're gonna want to, and they know you, see if you can't request Yaku as your
Yeah. Yeah.
PH, you
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
or
And
or
and
or if you're using
I
like kind of like me, right? Like I can see that, and like we,
well, yeah, you know the guys, and I think this is an important difference that we should talk about, Jimmy, between the two business worlds that you probably have a unique perspective on, because from an outsider to Africa perspective, but an insider to the U.S. hunting market, one thing that I have observed is that the safari industry, we call it, maybe that's the wrong term, but the South African hunting industry, they essentially have almost like sales teams,
yeah.
right? Like there's almost
Hmm.
and that doesn't really exist in the U.S., right?
Nope.
Like you guys that bought my old business and you guys doing your thing, you're for sure one of the biggest outfitters in the US from like the stuff that we talk about a lot, but you still have a lot of direct contact like
Yeah.
with every single customer.
Yeah.
I get a feeling that it's a little bit different in this world. Is that observation
Yeah.
correct?
It's 100% correct. I mean,
It,
like I am, again, I was at this Harrisburg Sportsman Show. I wish I wasn't there. It was a few weeks ago. Like, God, it was miserable. And I got sick as a dog. But, um, I can efficiently get there and do those. The South African guys, or whatever, any of the African guys, they've got like they pull this group of people together, and they go around and they call it show season, and they bounce around to all these
yeah.
shows, and then they might not be able to make it to that show, so they've got somebody in, I see this a lot too, like they've got like their northeastern U.S. representative, and they
Right.
go to that show and they kind of book the hunts
But
for
they're
them.
people, but they're select people who can sell hunts.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's sales. I mean, I understand they may be PHs. They may have
yeah,
other roles in their business, but they are like the guys they send there for a reason,
Yeah,
right?
like they're super
Like,
personable. Like you
yeah,
go
yeah,
up and they're
yeah,
like, yeah, yeah, they're
yeah.
very personable. They're good at selling it. Again, that North American representative is not a PH. They're just a client that has been over there several times. They know it. It would be like setting me up
Oh,
as a
sure.
representative. But I don't know. I don't know that they lost a certain lease last week and picked up a new lease.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
that. You come book a hunt with LKS Outfitters at any of our three locations. Chances are, if you call the phone, you're going to be talking to me. There's a
Right.
relatively high chance, like 10% chance that I'm probably going to be your guide on that hunt. Um, and I know, I've been to all those spots. That that American representative, probably there's a good chance they haven't been to that lodge or whatever the case, and they're just
Yeah.
selling you something, and they're also getting a commission off of that.
Yeah, yeah. So you have to maneuver it a little bit different,
Yeah,
right? And I think it's um I know it's a hard question to answer, Jimmy, but like, is the best thing to do? Like, it's not my personality to do this, but I feel like if I was booking an African hunt on my own, I would tend to be really straightforward, like very overt about what I wanted and my expectations, and I might be a little bit like inflexible. Is that the right or wrong approach?
I think no, I think you need to. I think you need to, like, whatever you're inflexible about, be very very clear on it, because those people, like, look, I see this all the time in the hunting industry. People will tell you whatever the hell you want to hear to get some money, right?
Sure,
Like, there's guys that there's booking agencies, that you and I have both used and don't really, we just talking about, don't really like
sure.
using too often, and they will oversell the crap out of a hunt. Somebody will oversell you that whatever you're inflexible about, like, I really, I will only want to hunt, it's got to be like 5,000 acres or bigger. They'll tell you that. Yeah, be like, oh yeah, with huge properties.
Yeah,
And it's like, but are you, can you, how do you know? You don't have like, it's not like our cliff is crazy. Like, their contracts, again, I can't speak for everybody, but it's like you send over like a $500 deposit and you don't pay until you're finished with the safari.
it's just like we'll see you there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, well, I guess you're not getting a ride to the airport if you don't want to pay, or
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
the
yeah.
case is.
Right, right, yeah, yeah.
So it's not like like, we are very bound by our contract. Like, if I don't supply you with the two water jugs that are supposed to be in your drop camp, that's it, that I say in the contract, like, that's problematic, right?
Yeah.
There's no contract. So whatever you say is you're inflexible about. There's no like legal binding to it.
Yeah. So how do you maneuver it? Like, what's the most?
Well, yeah,
What's the best?
yeah. Hopefully you have a buddy that's gone over there,
Yeah.
or you feel like you've really made a good connection there.
Yeah.
Um, if you've got somebody that, like, you know, um, like me, when somebody wants to go with me, I almost always am going with them. Um, and I just, like, I'm just very overt that with that company, like, hey, we are staying
Yeah.
at this lodge and we are hunting this property. We are not hunting that property. Um, and here are my list of the top 5 PHs. If you can't have that, let me know who it is, and then we'll decide if we're booking for that year.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Yeah. So you just got to maneuver it that way, and this makes a lot of sense, Jimmy. When I talk to a lot of guys who have hunted Africa, a lot of them say the same thing. They're like, "Hey, dude, I hunted with," and it's usually some like, kind of like a French name or something. There's usually
Like
like,
John Pierre or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like, I hunted with this guy. He's like a good fucker. Make sure you hunt with him. Like I've
Yeah.
heard that a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they, as a hunter, when they go back, they try to hunt with the same dude,
Yeah.
and then it's just that they're controlling that component of it. Like this
Hmm.
guy didn't fuck me in the last time. He did what he said. We had a good time. And I think the other thing is like for a naive guy like me, Jimmy, like there's things that this kind of environment is tough because I can have something that I'm really overtly specific about, like this is what I want, but if the PH is an honest guy and a good dude, he can tell me something, he can tell me why I'm wrong. Like, hey, dude, like you're stuck on something that doesn't matter. Because if you do this, it's gonna be fun. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like that I wanna hunt with a guy like that who can like I can trust to be like, okay, he's telling me this not to make more money. Like I know there's like they've got to make a living. So I get that there's economic structures in place, but I want to be like, okay, this guy knows that I need to lay off on that. And I just need to go do this to have fun. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Like if you're enjoying like going out on a walk and stalk, right? Like you're driving and you see an animal, you get off the truck, and then you make an approach to it, and then and he sees that you really enjoy that, which everyone does.
Sure.
Versus shit, there's a giant freaking kudu right there. Shoot it from the top of the truck, which is like type one roller coaster fun. That the
Yeah.
good PH is like, hey, let's we're gonna go, we're gonna drive past it, or we're gonna back up or whatever, and we're
Sure.
gonna drop our chances of shooting that animal, that huge trophy, but it's gonna be for your enjoyment. You're gonna enjoy
Right.
it way better, way more.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No, I get it. Dude, let's talk about that real quick, Jimmy. Like styles of hunting. So, I guess you can like, what are the different styles of hunting that they use in terms of like, sitting water, doing the spot and stock thing, all of
mhm.
that stuff. But also, what's your opinion on archery versus rifle? And does that factor in like where you go?
Yeah. So your archery versus rifle. There are some animals that you're not going to shoot in general, with that the average hunter is not going to be able to shoot with a bow in Africa on a walk and stalk. Just from eyesight to they're just not going to let you get that close. Whatever the case is, right? Like walk and stalking a kudu with a bow, or a zebra. That that's a good one. A zebra, like you're probably not going to walk and stalk a zebra with a bow because they're herd animals. And if you get to 200 yards with a rifle, like I mean, that your pH is probably getting close to like, hey, we need to start thinking about shooting, just because
Hmm.
they're not going to let you. Most of your bow hunting is going to in Africa is going to be over water holes,
Yeah.
or some kind of blind bait situation. You're gonna be in a blind.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and so I had somebody specifically ask me this question, and I think I know the answer, Jimmy. But if you go there, and like let's extend that example, I'm an archery hunter, and me and you have guided lots of archery hunters, a lot of rifle hunters. We both shoot archery, we both shoot rifles, right? So we can kind of
Uh,
understand this. But a lot of archers come into the mentality of like, okay, I want to shoot it with my bow. I want to shoot a zebra with my bow, but I only want to do it spot and stock, and I want that opportunity in Africa. Is that a is that just a no go? Is that like an asinine thing to even ask?
yeah, I mean that like it's one of those deals. Like one one they're running a business over there, so
Yeah, yeah,
they want you shooting animals, um,
yeah.
not just your day rate. And we can get all into the pricing and everything later. But they want you shooting. They want you shooting animals. So if you spend 3 days walking around trying to get close to a zebra and not killing anything, one, like your pH is going to get frustrated with you,
Right.
uh, and and a lot of times, like they're just going to tell you straight up. Like they should tell you, like, this is just not going to happen. Like
Yeah.
maybe we try it on one, oh, hey, like there's some zebra and they look
In a
like
good
we in
spot,
a
put
good
it, yeah.
spot. And maybe, let's kill an hour trying it just for shits and giggles. But like, yeah, you're not going to, if that's your, if walk and stalk with a bow is your only thing, like it's just,
Yeah, yeah.
you're gonna go home with like a handful of animals, or like
Right.
no, I shouldn't even say a handful, like a very limited amount, and it might be like if that's your thing, you've got to be open to shooting everything and anything you see,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And
sure.
it might be that $8,000 sable because you got to take every opportunity you can. It might be, um, it might be that buffalo. And
Yeah.
we've done, and Cape Buffalo is one that you can,
You can do with a bow.
you can do with a
Yeah.
bow. So,
Sorry, dude. I
uh,
lost you just for a little bit, for a second there, Jimmy. But I get what you're saying, and it's interesting because and I think this is a good way to segue into the pricing thing. That it's different, right? Like if I'm guiding an elk hunter, you're guiding an elk hunter, we're guiding an archery elk hunter, right? And he calls us up 2 weeks before, and he says, "I want to bring my longbow." You know what I mean?
yeah,
We're we're gonna look at that and be like, well, your odds of killing one just went from pretty tough to really, really tough. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But the difference is in our mind as guides in the States, we're like, look, we're gonna guide you for 7 days. That's the deal. That's your choice. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
that's always been my mentality. Like this could lead to some other reasons why we get frustrated or whatever, but as a guide, I really don't have a gripe with the guy. Like, hey, you
Well,
want to try it, dude? I get it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
and as an outfitter, right? Like from a guide's perspective, I think it's more frustrating. But from an outfitter, it's like we are charging you for this service, whether you punch a
Right.
tag, you draw blood, or you don't see an animal. You're it's still the same. The price is the price. Over
Yeah, yeah.
there, you don't if you don't shoot stuff, it's it's taking money away from them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like one of my frustrations about it a little bit, Jimmy, is that there's a lack of transparency. Like a lot of the things we're talking about is a lack of transparency, but it's also pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious that, they make money off you killing animals. So this dynamic, yeah, I would guess you have to be careful about it because you can't just be like, well, I want to kill a zebra with my bow and I'm here for 7 days. I don't give a shit if I don't kill one. It's like, well, that's not the deal.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's not how it works. So explain how the pricing works and to the extent you can, Jimmy, like be transparent about like how they look at it, like what's appropriate, like what you should expect in terms of
yeah,
like what the end cost is.
yeah. So a lot of what you see, and a lot of like, um, when you see like these show deals or like, you see it a lot, right? Like, I saw you just posted something this morning about the Rocky Mountain Goat Alliance giving some, auctioning off some stuff. Shoot,
Yep.
three of them are African safaris. If you look at that
Yep.
African safari, you're gonna see that it's probably a 5-day hunt for one hunter, and it's got three or four species on it. It's like warthog, impala, blessed buck, and I don't know, something. Those are
Yep.
all animals that are very cheap for them, and then they might have, so like on that, like it's very cheap, and they're hoping that you are going to bring your wife along or a buddy along. If it's your wife and she's a non-hunter, well, she's getting charged $400 or whatever their day rate is a day. So you need to be asking, like, hey, what is the day rate for an observer or for your other hunting partner? The cost of the animals is pretty basic. Like it's probably lined out on a sheet of paper or on their website of like, hey, this is the
The
pricing.
deal.
This is the deal. But if you want to go over there, and I encourage a lot of people to come up with a package. Like, hey, I know I want to shoot a warthog, an impala, an eland, and a giraffe, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are the things you want to shoot. Come up with a customized package with that, and they're probably going to knock the pricing off of that, but you're going to be charged for that package whether you shoot them or not.
Oh, okay.
And then everything else once you get over there is going to be a la carte of what the advertised rate is. So if you know, like, and you're not bound by like a bow and arrow or some crazy time constraint, you're going to be able, like, if you go over there on a 10-day hunt, those things are very, like those species I just mentioned are extremely achievable. Like, you could do that in like
Yeah.
5 days. Yeah, probably. But but I guess let me step back. On those, a lot of those donation style hunts that people are bidding on, they're hoping that you're going to bring somebody with you so that they can recover some of their cost. They're hoping that when you get over there, you're just a kid in a candy store and just start like uncontrollably shooting stuff
Which I'm
and
sure is
adding.
not too uncommon.
Yeah, no, it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you're like, ah, shit, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You end
Only
up
here
shooting.
one, only here once.
Yeah, yeah. Like, oh, the wife's not here. I'll shoot that $5,000 whatever the case
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Um, and then they all are also probably hoping that, if that was a 5-day hunt donation or a 7-day hunt donation, that you're going to be upgrading it so that they can recover some of their costs.
Yeah, because of the logistics, how hard it is to get over there and back. Like you're not going to go
Yeah,
for 5 days.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and the logistics to South Africa, like South Africa is that, like, the reason I say like that's a good like starting point is because it's actually really easy to get to South Africa. You can take a direct flight from Atlanta or whatever it's like LaGuardia or whatever the other one in New York is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. JFK.
JFK. One of those two, like there's a United flight and then there's a Delta flight. Both of them are direct flights to Johannesburg, and then Johannesburg, you got a 4-hour road trip to Limpopo. Depending on where else you go, it might be shorter, it might be a little bit longer, but figure on that. Like it's actually really easy to get there. You start going to Tanzania, now all of a sudden you're talking about like you now have 3 additional flights or 2 additional flights
Yeah,
and an 8-hour bumpy ass ride.
yeah, and more opportunity to lose your guns and
Yeah,
deal with logistical
yeah.
shit and stuff. So
And I know,
two
yeah. Go
questions.
ahead.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
I
No, you
know
go
I
ahead.
didn't. I know I didn't finish on that pricing, and I kind of, I'm kind of scatterbrained all over it.
No, go ahead.
If you can and you know what species you want to go after, try to create a package with your outfitter. Most of those outfitters are going to have like packages already like pre-packaged, right?
Sure.
It's going to have a warthog, it's going to have your kudu, and then they're going to have one that's like maybe like maybe a higher level, like a sable and a kudu, and I'm sure they got like some silly name for whatever, a
Sure.
royal package
Yeah.
or like basic package, but they'll have something
Right.
like that. Try to get that package deal because you are going to get a little bit better of a deal ahead of time. You don't want to overextend that package, like I was saying, because you're probably going to be paying for that animal whether you shoot one or not.
Yeah, I got you.
So you don't want to have like 15 animals on a 7-day hunt because you're probably not going to do that.
Yeah, I got you.
And then,
Yeah.
the other thing on the pricing is, one, you do have to factor in your flights, which is pretty easy to do. And it's not nearly as much as most people think. Like you're going to be, around $1,500 if you're shopping around.
Guys, biltong, okay? I have been obsessed with this stuff for 3 or 4 years. Ever since I got on a keto, carnivore, paleo-esque type of diet, I've had a hard time finding healthy snacks. Biltong is a great option, particularly the slabs that have this fat on the side. That's where your energy is if you're a fat burner like me. Super simple ingredients in this, guys. Literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients. Compare that to your gas station jerky. A great snack in the backcountry or just day to day. Biltong Depot is a huge supporter of my content. Go to their website, biltongdepot.com. Use my discount code CLIFFG, CLIFFG for 15% off at checkout and to support this content. Thanks, guys. Okay, that's not bad. So your round trip is less than a couple $1,000.
Yeah. And then what does get people is the shipping and crating of the trophies back home. So you're gonna, you depend on how many animals you have in your box is gonna, dictate the size of the box. Like if you shoot a big ass kudu, you need a box that's gonna be that same size. So it's not going to change the price if you just shoot an impala because they're going to put that in the same box with that kudu.
Oh, okay.
So like you kind of have to start strategically like, all right, well, like I guess I have the cost of this impala, but I'm already paying a flat rate on this shipping anyway because I got this big ass box for my kudu. So I guess what's the extra $500 to shoot that animal because I'm already paying kind of like I don't really have to now you can kind of think of like, well, now I don't really have to pay for the shipping of it. Right. But your shipping is, I think, I kind of got myself into a little bit of a pickle on it, thinking that, like, $1,000. No, it's more than that. Nowadays you're going to be looking at, 1,500 plus probably
for just the shipping.
For the shipping of the I don't even want. It's not a finished product by any means. Like it'll basically show up looking like a Euro mount.
Oh, okay. And then the cape
and then the cape is dipped in. It's salted, and then the shipping company they dip it. Kill any parasites, like whatever it is. That cape, if you store it like in a closet, it'll last several years. So you don't have to get it to the taxidermist right away. Now you put it in the freezer, it'll last indefinitely,
Yeah. Are they wet or are they just like salt dried?
Yeah, salt dried and then dipped in a chemical, like if there's like any mites or whatever that happen to survive like the salting process.
Sure. Yeah. So the cost, so you've got your flight logistics, you've got the safari, you've got the safari package, and then you've got any additional like add-on species that you kill, and then you have your shipping of the skull and the capes back. Is there a fee for? Are there any fees associated with that work? Like getting the skull prepped and like the cape, or is that
yeah? I mean, so basically like. A lot of like there's a handful of companies that do the dipping and the shipping, and in general, like I think it's like a flat rate of like $180 per animal.
Okay.
And then which is again, it's a flat rate, but then it goes into this big box, and that big box, depending on the size of that box, is going to be kind of where a lot of your money is then spent.
Yeah, because it's like a set amount. So if you only shoot one animal, then that whole $1,500 just goes into that one animal.
Yeah.
If, you get animal, then there's probably a point where your box is filled up. So you shoot one more little warthog, but he won't fit in that box. But you got to get a whole new box. But it's like you got to be cognizant of that. And I assume that you can kind of, as you're on the trip, you can kind of do a rough estimation of this, or is it just like you can kind of keep track of it a little bit?
Yeah, no, I mean your PAs should have a pretty good handle on that.
Like where you're at. Yeah.
Yeah, on where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see, Jimmy, like that's when you talk about the logistics, and I've run into this, guys that are flying into like this is one of the challenges with Alaska black bear hunts. Alaska black bear hunts. It's an awesome place to hunt black bears. Everybody should go hunt Alaska at some point. But the problem is, like, once you deal with CITES, once you deal with all of this because you're on an airplane, once you deal with the local taxidermist, and then you have a taxidermist actually do the rug at home, like all of that, like you got another like bare minimum almost a couple grand
Mm-hmm.
in taxidermy for one animal. Now, I know we can't do this for the Africa thing because of the shipping component is a little bit different, but it sounds like to me like even on the antelope, you got to figure every time you pull the trigger or shooting with your bow, you like at least another probably $1,000 to $1,500 or maybe almost 2 grand to have the finished mount in your house.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Like,
and
yeah,
that's up to your tax. Look, it's. I mean, you can add it up any way you want, but you shoot that a la carte Impala, right? That wasn't on your package. Maybe that's $750. Then
mm-hmm.
you've got a straight um, shipping pack of $180, right? So
Yep.
now we're gonna say, well, hopefully that Impala fits into the crate with your kudu, so we're not gonna include that. But by the time you get back to this, that you get that Impala head and cape back to the States, where are you at? Are you at, that's, I don't know how, I mean, if you have some crappy taxidermist, you might charge $500. If you're going to, like a
I'd be
real great
1,200.
guy,
Yeah.
yeah, it might be $1,500. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's a big. I
yeah,
mean, it's your taxidermy bill could run what like be the same as your safari bill.
yeah, or more. Yeah, or more.
Yeah.
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 And then, but you don't have to shoulder mount everything, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can you can leave it Euro mounted, and it's basically Euro mounted when it comes back.
Yeah. So you could just be like a skull and horn
Hmm.
guy and save a bunch of money.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe if you like the hides, maybe you um, get it tanned and you throw it over your, I don't know, railing or whatever you do,
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
whatever you do with
Yeah.
hides. Or you might be like at the ship and dip place, be like, I don't want that. I'm not doing anything with the hide. I mean, you're mounting
Just
everything. Just throw it out, and they might keep it there for if
got to fill in for
yeah, or they
something
might
when they
sell it
got.
to a tax. If it was a big something or a cool color, they
Yeah.
might sell it to local taxidermists
Yeah. Yeah.
there.
But nobody does finish taxidermy in South
Oh
Africa
yeah,
and has it shipped. They do. What
yeah, I
what's
do.
what does that look
It's
like?
almost
Like tell the
exact. It's
story.
almost identical to the because now so one the actual taxidermy itself is the actual like the labor of the taxidermy and the material is
It's
cheaper
way
than
cheaper.
the
Sure.
than here, but you're paying for a finished product on your shipping, but your crate's not that much bigger than if it was the unfinished product.
Right.
So it almost comes out to an exact wash. Like and it actually just got back to the United States, I don't know, like a month ago. I had a kudu, a wall pedestal kudu, and um, just a Euro amount of warthog.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like basically more or less the same pricing.
Yeah, and I imagine they're pretty good. The taxidermists there
But
because they're doing a lot of
yeah, I
reps.
wouldn't want them. I wouldn't want them mounting my mountain goat or elk.
Right.
But the guy that your local taxidermist said all he's ever done is whitetailing. He did 2 elk for his buddy that they shot. I don't know if that's the guy you want mounting your kudu either. You know?
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. I mean, that makes sense. They see those species, which is relevant. Nah, dude. Tons of good stuff, Jimmy. I'm gonna end with one last
Yeah,
question, dude, and then we'll wrap it up. And it's one that a lot of people ask, and I don't really think about it that much, but I guess I could be naive. the Africa in terms of things on the safety front, and then like any logistical problems with like rifles, like should you bring your own rifle, should you not, that sort of thing, and that component of stuff. Is there any like scams people should be aware of? Any of that? Like, should people be cognizant of
Yeah,
that
like
stuff?
so we'll talk about South Africa, right? Because like
Yeah,
if you're going to the Congo, yeah, you better have
different
like
deal.
some ripcord insurance or whatever,
Sure.
you know.
Yep.
But South Africa, like no, I mean, yeah, like Johannesburg. I'm sure if you looked it up, is a
Dangerous. Yeah.
dangerous, like the most dangerous city, but
Right.
you're not spending any time in Johannesburg. The airport's outside of the sketchy places. So no, you're good. I don't get insurance to go over there. Communication,
Right.
yeah, like you know, I have AT&T and I go over there and I think on the plan that I have, I get 10 free days of international calling
No. Okay.
a year, and I just do that. And um, like if you're just going over for, if I'm there for 8 weeks, obviously like I do go and
Sure.
buy like prepaid SIM cards and crap like that. But
Right.
yeah, if I'm just going over there for 2 weeks, yeah, I'm just paying for, or I'm doing my free 10-day trial and that's it. Your lodges, they all have internet nowadays. You just hook up to Wi-Fi. You can FaceTime your wife and kids
Sure.
every night.
Yeah. Yeah.
So communication is good. You don't need to go get the malaria shots. Like you
Oh, okay.
would, like if you went to Botswana, you probably ought to get a malaria shot. In South Africa,
Right.
if you do that, you're gonna feel miserable while you're there. You'll be kind of sick,
Yeah, I got you.
or taking the
Yeah.
pills or whatever it is that they give you. Um, yeah, what was the other
So no,
question?
no, I think that's pretty much it, dude. Oh, people ask me like, is there any like, is there any kind of like scam type of things you have to worry
Yeah,
about in terms of? I think people are referring to like getting like hustled at airports about guns or like pay. Is there anything? Is it
oh,
that
yeah.
kind
I
of
mean,
stuff?
yeah. I mean, it's kind of like going to like the airport's
Yeah,
kind of like,
Mexico.
yeah,
Yeah.
going to Mexico, and like you got 30 people that are trying to take your bag and help you to the car, but like your PH is probably meeting you as soon as you get out of customs, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and on the rifle stand on the rifle point, is actually very easy to take a rifle into South Africa. There's just a little bit of paperwork to do. Um,
Okay.
for $400, if you're dead set on taking a rifle, I would pay one of these travel agencies. Like there's one that I recommend called Travel with Guns. You pay them 400
Okay.
bucks and they do the paperwork for their getting the rifle in, getting the rifle out. And they're not going to accidentally not fill in they know exactly
Yeah.
what needs
Yeah.
to be filled in. They do 100 of those a
Yeah.
day. It's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
good. If you're not like, if you're not tied to a specific, like you're taking grandpa's, you know, 30, 40 or whatever
Yeah.
rifle that has
Sure.
sentimental value, or you're not hunting dangerous game. Like if you're hunting buffalo, I would probably encourage you to take your own rifle, and you're
Yeah. Just so you're
probably,
comfortable with
yeah,
it.
so you're comfortable with it. And you can probably also afford the 400 bucks because you were talking about a
Yeah.
$10,000
Sure.
hunt. So, um, other than that, the majority of outfits over there, they do have rentals, rifle rentals for you. And it's not like
Okay.
you feel like you're definitely getting like a little hosed on it. Like, damn, 40 bucks a day. This rifle's not like, it's not like this is a $2,000, it's just a $700
Gun. Yeah. Yeah.
rifle. But, and then they charge you like $5 a bullet or whatever. But
Sure.
the headache of like traveling with it, like I don't know, just like just my personality, I do get a little frantic, and I'm not the crazy guy on that's standing in line when I'm zone 6 and standing there waiting with the zone 1 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do get like a little more anxiety on that stuff. Like I worry like about if my stuff's going to show up, especially a rifle. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
I would prefer just to pay for it. And like a lot of times, like if I'm going over with somebody, um, we might be using my rifle anyway.
Right.
And
Sure.
like, hey, don't bring your rifle. You can use mine. You're good to go. And I'm not going to
Right.
charge you $40 a day to use my rifle.
Sure. No, I gotcha. Can you? What about suppressors? Can you bring them?
I don't know. I've never had anybody bring a suppressor, so I don't know about that. But all of the rifles that you would rent over there are going to have suppressors on them,
Oh, okay.
unless it's like a 375 that you're renting for
Yeah, yeah, I gotcha.
dangerous game.
Yeah. No, I was just curious. Like I don't know where you're at on that, dude. I've been using them a
Yeah,
lot,
they're
and
awesome.
even in the states, dude. Like I always it clicks to me like, hey, dude, like you're going somewhere else. Like check the rules,
Yeah,
Like it's it's easy to forget. I mean, to me, it seems like such a dumb thing for there to be
yeah.
so
Well,
many
like
convoluted
over
rules.
over there, a suppressor is it's you walk into a sporting goods store there and purchase.
Yeah, it's just a
You give them three
yeah.
hundred bucks and you walk out right then and there with a suppressor.
Yeah, thread it on and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an odd thing. Well, Jimmy, you got anything to add, dude, or we'll wrap it up? I've had you on here for a while.
Yeah, no. I mean, I would. My biggest recommendation to people is like when you see that outfit that is like leaps and bounds cheaper on their package or whatever the hunt is. There's usually something there, right?
Right.
Like if it seems too good to be true, it often is. Like you're either hunting those small properties, you're hunting smaller animals than other areas. Um, I've never had anybody that went over there. Like, yeah, I've had a lot of people that said like, hey, such and such safari is going to charge $3,500 for me to hunt these three species and do this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, I'm not even going to try to like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
go for it. It that's not a that's
Yeah, I mean the reality is even more so in the U.S. Like it's a there's a lot of I mean it's efficient market, right? Like it's not it's competitive. These guys are competing like
yeah
they're they have the same leases. I'm sure they're paying like there's a market rate for that stuff. So if the one guy's really low, like something
yeah
he's obviously like cutting corners somewhere. He kind of has to,
yeah
you know.
yeah. And like
So
the big thing that I see is usually the lodging is very comparable across the board. Like everyone, like no one complains about the
oh,
lodging
okay.
or the amenity. Like you go over there and you bring 3 shirts and 3 pants, and that like you pack for a 14-day safari in a carry-on bag, right? Because they're doing laundry all the time.
Oh,
Well, yeah,
okay, sure.
like that stuff that's pretty uniform across the board with everybody. But what I see more often than not is like the back end, the paperwork. Like let's say you shot like a serval over there that takes a permit to get back.
Yeah.
Not like if you're not getting your trophies back within a calendar year of being there, there's
You
like
may never.
yeah, you
Yeah.
might never get them.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like
Sure.
or like there's definitely an issue on your outfits end about getting you know getting that stuff back. Like the place I go, like they literally have an office staff of like nine people. They're like
They're just
work
taking care
that
of
are
that stuff.
working on that.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a lot of it's a lot of paperwork. I'm sure. No, great stuff, dude. Where can guys like? What's the best way for people to contact you, Jimmy, if they want to talk to you more about it or
Yeah,
work with you on it?
man. Well, I kind of in the process of getting the website up
Sure.
and running. Um, yeah, I don't have like a good number for
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah,
but
yeah. Well,
yeah.
your normal email
Yeah,
and
yeah.
your
I
Instagram and all that, just look
I'd
you up.
say, yeah, just on the email, you can email me at j.oswald, OSWALD, at truehunts.com.
Sweet, man. Cool. Thanks, Jimmy. If you enjoyed this content, do me a huge favor. Subscribe on whatever platform you consume it on. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever works for you guys. Everything else is on my website, pursuitwithcliff.com. Go there and it's going to be very apparent to you that I work my ass off just to not have a real job. All the hunts I guide, all the seminars I put on, all the unique experiences I offer, and the membership site, all the details are there.